All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back for another brand new episode of the Beyond Tradition podcast. We're three of your most favorite co-hosts in the entire world. Of course, my boy Brett, my boy Brad, and of course, myself, Eduardo. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest. He's no stranger to the podcast.
Nope.
He's been on here before.
That's right.
It's a long time coming. We tried to schedule something to get going, and here we are. But today on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, we have our boy Samir. What's going on, buddy?
Seattle. How's it going?
How's it going, brother?
Hey, welcome, Samir.
Hey, thank you so much, everybody. Great to be here. It's such an interesting thing. I don't even remember how we met. You know, I think it's just like it came up so randomly, and I went on your podcast, and it was so much fun. And I've been a follower and a listener and a viewer ever since. So
I appreciate it,
really
man.
Great to be back. Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. No, dude, it's definitely cool to revisit just to see kind of where we're at in life. Of course, you know, I know we've said a little bit off the pod that, you know, you have some questions for us, but we definitely have some questions for you, man. I mean, of course, just tell us right off rip, man, like anything new, anything crazy, interesting that's going on with you. I know that I learned a little bit about you just by looking on your IG, to be honest, because we've talked a little bit of some boxing off, messaging here and there about boxing, and I didn't know that you actually have been involved in like some translating, right, for some people that we know, some boxers that we know.
For some superstar boxers.
Yes.
I was a translator for Gennady Golovkin, aka Triple G.
Yes.
For all the boxing heads, they know him.
Damn.
We were doing some shows in Los Angeles, Madison Square Garden. I was translating for the boxers that he was promoting. And so that was like a huge show business experience for me. So that was definitely great. Another boxer that I'm working with right now is Serhiy Bohachuk.
Okay.
He's a boxer from Ukraine, and he is fighting on August 10th. Well, he is defending his interim world title at 154 division.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Crusher. He is mauling all the guys. He's like an amazing fighter, but it's just he destroys people. He just runs them down. So like amazing entertainment. Definitely check him out on DAZN August 10th. I think it's if you have a DAZN subscription, it's you don't have to do pay-per-view or anything like that.
Yeah,
nice.
Awesome, man. No, that's awesome. That is definitely right down our alley. Obviously, we talked about boxing before, just with all the stuff that's been going on. I mean, we're gonna have no problem finding interesting stuff to talk about on this episode. I feel like, but of course, just to kind of jump right in, I mean, Samir, you've been in the works in regards to a topic I feel like we've talked about on the podcast, I would say plenty of times. And we also made a clip not too long ago when we were talking about the FBI and we were talking about AI in general, right? Well, fast forward, we find ourselves here where you're actually involved with something like that. So just break it down to us, man. Like, how did this come about? How'd you find yourself just being involved with artificial intelligence all of a sudden? Like, was that something like in your Uno cards, or was it just something that kind of was brought up nonchalant? You're like, oh, that catches my interest, I'm gonna go for that. So how did that come about, man?
Well, first of all, you guys talk about all kinds of controversial stuff lately. I'm hearing you're like suspended here, dinged there, red flag here and there. It's just like, what's happening?
Yeah, right.
It feels like it was more vanilla, but all of a sudden you guys went all radical.
We are always looking for new edges to push. We're trying to, we're flying close to the sun, and we know that.
Oh yeah. Sometimes
Shout out Rich Kleiman.
Which is kind of weird. Like I was listening to your podcast, you guys were discussing that, and just like, what did we do? Like, we said something back in the day in the previous episode, and we're still getting flags for that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't even know that that's the thing. I thought like it's like either right away or like it's a pass. But apparently you can still like retroactively get audited.
Yeah, man. Well, it came to my surprise because I look at the analytics all the time, right? And I just got a message one morning just getting up for work that one of our older videos got removed, and I text Brett right here, and it's just crazy how it's just going far back to older episodes. So I really don't know how the YouTube machine works, but I mean, I don't know if we're all of a sudden now in the radar to where there's more just eyes on us now. I don't know what it is, but it's just kind of, I don't know. I mean,
I think it's,
that's what you were saying?
Yeah, like you guys are definitely getting traction. I think that's one of the reasons. Another reason is probably there's like some election cycle. Again, I'm not sure what you guys get banned or whatever dinged for, and you don't have to tell it again so we don't get dinged again. Valuable episode.
Yeah.
Make sure you still have it. Another thing, they're probably using artificial intelligence. It's funny, on the last podcast we were talking, and I said it was like a year, like the AI hype just started.
Yes.
Like ChatGPT just came out and all of that.
Yep.
And I said, under no circumstances I will ever talk shit about AI.
Yeah.
My motto.
I remember that.
And that was always, I think that was like one of my promotional videos for this podcast, and I was
Yeah.
posting that on
Sweet.
or maybe the, yeah, that was the soundbite. But yeah, I was like, I didn't even get into that much. Like I wasn't using it that much. I was just knowing, I knew about it. I didn't even try it properly. But then I started trying it. I was like, okay, like I realized there's a lot of value behind it. And so for context, I do some things in AI right now. Primarily, I do an online class, and I'm trying to do a series of classes with my business partner. And basically, the whole premise is this. A lot of people are saying that professional workers, people will be replaced at work by artificial intelligence. And so I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, like I was testing it out, and I realized like I don't think this is going to be happening this quick, but what's going to happen is that people will be replaced by other people who know how to use AI tools properly. So what I do is basically I have an online course right now. The first one is for real estate agents, and it basically shows you, for you as a real estate agent, how to use AI tools properly so that you can save your time, so that you can maximize your revenue, so that you can maximize your sales and your purchases for your clients, and ideally make more money and at faster rate. Especially lately, there has been like much more I would say revision of like the commissions rates for real estates and all that for real estate agents. So it's like a set of lectures on how to use AI properly and how to use it to interact with clients, do marketing, do lead gen.
Okay.
Wow.
Interesting, man. See, yeah, seems
So
like a lot going on. Yeah.
When you talk about AI, are you talking about like videos with like real looking people, or like are you talking about TTS, text to script or whatever it is?
Yeah. Okay, got it. Right now, like it's a lot of just ChatGPT type stuff.
ChatGPT, okay.
ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, other things as well. So there is that aspect to this, and it's funny because a lot of people who are maybe in the know, who try it, who maybe like use it for emails at work, or writing an essay or something like that and trying to use that, they kind of think that everybody already doing that too. But in reality, there is like a bubble of certain, population that know how to use, the simple text models, the chat GPTs and so on. But you go outside of it and people have no idea how to use it, and they never used it before, and they don't want to use it at all just because they just want to do their job and they're happy where they are, and they don't want to hear anything about this new change. So we're definitely working with kind of prompt engineering. We're teaching people how to prompt properly, basically how to tell AI what you want from them so that it understands you well. But at the same time, how to set it up so that you don't even have to tell it in the future. You can just say one word and all of a sudden it will spit out at you like the whole portfolio of information based on that. Another thing is picture uploads. Like you can upload picture of real estate, of like interior and all of that, and it will just look at this, and it will basically create like all the selling points of this particular property just based on the picture. So there is some visual aspect to that as well.
That's amazing.
Interesting.
So how much time are you saving, and how much money are you saving people with this usage of AI?
I think ultimately it's like the time saving. It's because time is money, and everyone who is smart about their money, they understand that time is the most valuable asset that they have.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
And basically it's just like you can either try doing it all one by one, listing every property, trying to figure out the right marketing tools, trying to figure out the right sales point, trying to stage the apartment. We do like visual staging as well. Basically, we teach people like, hey, here are the tools that do visual staging for your abroad clients. Like, for example, in Canada, we have a bunch of people buying up property all the way back like from China or any other countries. But they're buying a lot of condos here in Toronto. So they have to have that visual aspect without them flying in here.
Yep.
So we do that. So it's basically the time that you're saving using AI tools is ultimately translate into your bottom line.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Did you have something else?
Well, the only thing I was going to say, just kind of when you're talking about time, what's crazy is that we actually utilize AI as well. I mean, I use it to make some clips, and it literally, when I first started looking into it and just kind of just seeing what it delivers for you, like you said, the time that it saves me at a click of a button and just waiting a couple minutes, it's a game changer. Never would I thought would be living at this day and age where it literally does all the work for you. What would have taken me maybe, I would say maybe like an hour, hour and a half, it takes me 10 minutes. And it's insane to think that it gets me prepped and ready. Like I'm already done. Yep. And it's just the satisfaction feeling like it did a lot of the work for me, a lot of the legwork. You know, I did the minimal of just inserting the video here, the link or whatever, boom, click, done.
Yeah,
crazy, dude.
Yeah, it's like this AI tool, and I maybe you're using it as well. That basically cuts a lot of clips. I don't want to call them by name just not to give them an advertising. But there's a lot of AI tools that kind of like cut a lot of cool clips with already established hooks there, right? That keeps you interesting. So it keeps the podcast interesting or the clip interesting. And it's funny because in 2020 I was doing the same thing by hand, and you said like 2 hours or 3 hours. It took me like 10 hours to really edit everything, or even if it's subtitles, it took me weeks to create subtitles for a podcast. And now everything is just automated. It definitely, like for me personally as a podcaster, it saved me a lot of hours. I want to say like maybe 5 to 7 hours per one episode. I don't have to spend anymore to create any sort of promotion. 23 to 30 clips with valuable content that gets me thousands of views on YouTube. Yeah. And it's all just because of some machine learning stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
It's crazy.
And the thing, I think what is so daunting about AI, I don't think people really know what AI is. It's such a broad area. Like you're talking about video clips. We're talking about speeches. You can do photos. You can do the possibilities are endless with what you can do with AI. So, for someone that wants to dabble into AI, I recommend, hey, what do you like doing the most? And Google something that is AI related to that, so you can get your toes wet, your feet wet with that, and then you start branching into other things because you just naturally wander into other areas.
Yeah.
Like with me, I think what it was image creation.
Yeah.
And, because I wanted my own art and I didn't want to do any copyright or anything. So I just used AI for image creation.
Yeah.
And I was just amazed. I mean, I was just amazed. And what you're talking about, the prompts absolutely matter. And, you can really mess it up or you can make it really good depending on your prompt. So I heard you when you said that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I went to this Google event here in Toronto, and the real Google people basically tell me hey, there's a real business, and basically trying to explain people how to prompt properly and what is prompt. What I think is prompt is essentially, I think, in my opinion, it's like coding. But instead of doing like a code language, you're just doing English language or whatever your native language is, and you're trying to kind of set up the parameters so that you have the right sets of outputs, right? So basically, your output, whatever things that you're getting, completely depend on the things that you're feeding into.
Yeah.
And some people really need a lot of training on that because their brain probably is not set in those kind of angles where I need to give parameters to get out. But some people getting it better. I think it's like left and right half of brain or something like that, maybe creativity or something.
Yep.
But there's a real thing about prompting correctly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I could totally see that. And I could see where you would get, but here's the beauty. If you can, there's other AIs where you can say, hey, come up, show me, it's like a prompt maker AI. Yeah. So, I want a serene sunset over the ocean with a silhouette of a palm tree, and then you can just put that into the prompt maker AI, and then it'll give you all these other descriptive words, and you can just use that and take out what you don't like and put in what you do, and it's just it makes the people that feel the most limited, it removes those limitations, and that's what people. Yeah. That's the selling point to me, is that you can be someone of a very simple way of thinking or a very pragmatic, right-minded way of thinking and still be just as creative as a left brain thinker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. It's funny, when I first kind of started dabbling into prompting, I realized if you tell at that point with ChatGPT what type of camera do you want to use to generate, I think it was Stable Diffusion. to generate a picture, a realistic picture, it will actually adjust the lenses, quote unquote, so that it replicates that.
Oh
so
my gosh.
The best part is though, it's not that you can do prompting, and it's the fact that you can realize once you start feeling comfortable with this, the palm trees or whatever, you download the prompt, you just put it in there, all of a sudden, that's where your creativity comes in, like, hold on a second. Yeah, that's a cool thing, but I just came up with something different. I want to add something to that. So all of a sudden, you're starting tinkering with it. You're adjusting it, iterating and iterating and iterating, whether it's an image, a text, a video, or anything like that. That's where you start to get comfortable, and that's where you start to really kind of be creative. You become the actual prompt engineer. You understand how it works. You understand the logic behind, how the machine understands you, and all of a sudden you are speaking to it in the proper language.
Excellent. What has your experience been with onboarding people and getting people into your classes?
Yeah, we have over 360 students right now. And again, I'm trying. Awesome. We just started like recently, like 3 months ago, I would say.
Excellent.
And we're still adding courses. We're still adding lectures. It's definitely one of our first experimental ones. I am planning to do a second course for executive assistants. I think in our course right now, it's published on Udemy. I'll send you the links as well so that your listeners and viewers can check it out. I'll make sure that the course is free for them. And what have I don't know. What it's definitely a work. It's because, again, as a podcaster, and I'm lucky because I'm a podcaster. I am on camera a lot. I already know how certain things work. I already have semi-decent microphone, so my sound is not horrible. I realize that I can use my iPhone as a camera. Like all those things, they help, especially if you're trying to have like a visual course. But at the end of the day, it's all bullshit. What really matters is the fact that you are providing a valuable content. And so the thing about that, and it's not just me doing a course for real estate. We have actual real estate agent who does luxury sales in Vancouver and all that. So I get all the expertise from him. His name is Alex Liang. He's one of our instructors. And so he makes sure I'm kind of like the AI, know-it-all kind of person, and he basically the real estate person who is using AI. So we have my business partner, Dr. Jem Brown. So she provides details on security and making sure that you're not giving up like a lot of information to it that is private and all of that.
Excellent.
I already forgot what I was saying with that. Where was I going? But yeah, but basically don't be a bullshitter is what I'm saying. Like you want to talk about AI, but you want to really, really help them. You want to really help your students, like, okay, like if I'm a real estate agent. So that's why I questioned Alex a lot, like what do you use it for? What's your day-to-day? Maybe I can help you with. So first we kind of like found the common ground of like, okay, how can we like really improve this system so that the actual real estate agents can really like learn how to do it? And so through that, you then realize, okay, there is a certain workflow that is going on. So at what point of workflow can you really like establish some sort of a AI intervention incision, if you may, where all of a sudden your time is being saved. And so a lot of that, like for example, custom instructions, where instead of putting a bunch of prompts and iterating, I already can explain to ChatGPT, hey, I'm a real estate agent. I'm based in Vancouver, in this, or Seattle, in this particular area. This is the type of clients that I have. This is the type of property that I sell. And when I tell you, some sort of a code board, banana, you need to provide me everything on this particular property with marketing posts, email campaign, newsletter, and basically the listing and all the keywords and selling points for the property. So those are the kind of things I want to teach our students how to do. And they're very magical, but at the same time, they're also very logical. What I found that is most, I would say, difficult for people is basically just try it. Just freaking try it. And once you try it and just feel comfortable with it, just like joke around, prompts or whatever, all of a sudden you feel confident and you realize that it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's fun, and it's kind of, it's almost like, I don't know, I don't want to say magic, but it's kind of like it's because it's funny because we went through all of that like a year ago, right? We were like the first adopters and all that, our kind of little demographics.
Yeah.
But for a lot of workers, 40 and up, they don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I have my job. I know what I'm doing. I don't have time for all this little cookie shit. You already tried to sell me on crypto. I don't want to do this this thing all over again. And I know that one of you in crypto. I'm in crypto too, so I don't mean to shit on it. But that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I am. Right?
No, I hear you exactly what you're saying, and the funny thing you talked about crypto is I'm the one in crypto, and what I have used AI for. Well, I haven't completed it, but what I've discovered I can do is I can make videos, but I can translate them into other languages just using AI, and it's amazing because it sounds like a real person talking, and I am just amazed because it's like if you want to go into other markets, if you're someone who has a product or a business and that other languages could benefit from, like up in Canada, you guys speak French and English, right?
Canadian. Yeah.
Touche. I love it. But and so that way you could, with your type of videos, if you have somewhere where it's more of a French base, you can have that, and it's just amazing. Like I said, it's just.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy though? You know what's crazy? It's that. Yeah, there is like this sound thing where you can like do the voice. You can look, okay, you can do the translation, right? Mm-hmm. But you can also make, and you guys probably know about it. You can make me sound Chinese right now. Like I can speak Mandarin with my own voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what's even more crazy, we can create an online avatar of me standing or sitting here and speak Chinese, and for a trained eye, it will still seem like, okay, something is off. I don't think this person is really speaking, or it's like, it's probably an AI, whatever, avatar.
Yeah.
But if you put that video in front of a 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old,
right,
and they will just look at it and it's like, okay, it's just this weird guy speaking Mandarin to me. They will not understand the difference between an online like AI avatar that you created of yourself talking and talking extensively. A friend of mine, she does back injury, healing and all of that, and she just created an avatar of herself talking extensively about the childhood trauma of the back, and like for ballerinas and shit. Like, and I was like, it took me like I didn't recognize. I was like, this is weird. I think this is AI, but maybe not. Like this is so. Even I was like not 100% sure if this is AI or not.
Yeah.
So. And I'm kind of obsessed with that idea. I want to try. I'm probably going to create an AI avatar of myself and just starting like I'll do like a podcast episode.
Yeah, well, that's something we should experiment with, doing AI avatars of ourselves. There's
this podcaster she teaches AI too, and she does podcasts, and there's this AI app that replicates her voice, and so if she just puts in the script, then it will do it in her voice, and it's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's what it is.
That is insane. And it's also,
so we're just beginning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, like not too long ago, it was at the Apple keynote speech. They were talking about how they're going to implement their own version of their own AI, and they were showcasing how it was able to solve all these mathematical equations like on the fly. I'm like, we're like getting to this point.
Pen and paper, like they were like writing on an iPad or something like that. Yeah, that was
Before
cool.
we get too far, though, you kind of, you brought up the controversy, and we gotta, you opened the portal. Worm, and we're gonna go in. So you were talking about the, how people 40 and up may not be able to tell the difference between AI and a real video. So
like, I wasn't even able to do this. This is crazy.
That's what I'm saying. And so you look at the misinformation that's out there in the world, and what if you were to take a leader, right, from another country, like let's just say Kim Jong-un. We're not touching Donald Trump.
This is where the MAGA hat comes out. He's like,
I'm not wearing it right now, but I'm wearing
MAGA Republicans
I'm wearing it in
Seattle.
spirit. No, I'm just playing. You can say what you want. He's a big boy, but no, Kim Jong-un or just anybody, fill in the blank, that puts out a video and a threat to anyone in Europe or anyone in the area that looks believable. I mean we've seen this. It's so funny. We've already had the case study with War of the Worlds when it was released on the radio, and it turned into pandemonium.
Yeah,
people died over that. and it was just the radio. They were listening to a broadcast.
Yeah.
They thought that we were being invaded by aliens. And it just really scared the shit out of people. That was just the radio. That was just audio.
Yeah.
And you take this AI thing and you could really do a lot of damage.
Oh, yeah.
So do you think there should be laws or anything? Like what type of, because it's the Wild West in AI right now. Anything goes. Do you think there should be limits?
Well, it's funny because I think that's absolutely correct. It's no joke. If you create a fake video of a world leader, especially if that world leader has like an atomic bomb, and it provides threats and whatever. Or let's say someone hacked the government website and published that AI fake video. That's no joke. It's definitely something, and that's why you see a lot of defense companies kind of getting on that. There's a lot of legislation all over the world, not just United States, but Russia is, putting out statements about artificial intelligence. Obviously, Europeans are already regulating it like crazy, but they are just Europeans. They always do that. But the question is like, what do Americans do? And that's where you see. I don't know if you guys know this news, but the former NSA or CIA head or officer or whatever is now on board of OpenAI, right? So they're already getting the government involved in the like the main company that provides AI technology. So whether there should be regulations, I think probably yes, but at the same time, I'm not sure how do you regulate it. We just started, we don't know what's going to happen. I think what happened, and it's funny because that's a little bit of an idea that I'm carrying. I didn't come up with it, but I'm always thinking about it, is the fact that how do you authenticate certain things?
Yeah.
A fake video of a leader trying to threaten you to annihilate and all of that. Like, how do you authenticate that? And so that is where the blockchain technology actually will come in place. I think that it will come in handy, because if you put in place a system where all kinds of content, website, articles, videos, pictures, before they put online, they have to go through the blockchain, basically make sure that they've been put on that particular blockchain or any sort of link. It's another conversation. But then it's kind of becoming an NFT, a non-fungible token. And that basically will allow you to authenticate, like, okay, this is the video that's been posted. Let's see, their contract, their certificate under that video somehow. And then that's basically how you would be able to authenticate certain content. Again, I have no idea how this tech would work, but I feel like it's in a funny way. I feel like Web3 will finally find the use case. I work in crypto for a long time, and I'm always like, oh man, like I work in Web3 for a long time, and I still don't understand what it does. There's still no use case. Try to go out and explain that to normie, what is Web3. But I feel like with AI, finally, there's a good use case for it.
Yeah, it's going to be compatible with it.
Do you, just to kind of, you're in real estate, and one thing I've heard in the past with blockchain, with authentication is a deed for your house, title for your car, a birth certificate being tied in with the blockchain. That way it could not be manipulated, could not be faked. It would be completely authentic. Are you on board with such a thing?
I think that would make sense. Your diplomas. It's kind of funny with all the traditional documents. They're still kind of hold values, but there are other things that you want to authenticate. Like, my deed on the house, my title on the car. I mean, it's still kind of okay, like as a document. I wouldn't be surprised if it will be put on the blockchain, but as a standalone things, like those are still kind of valid. They're still in the database. There's like whatever barcodes or whatever. It's still fine. But for like other things, like for example, if I will take my AI course on how to be a real estate agent who uses AI successfully, how do I get certified and make sure that this goes to my, some sort of public file such as blockchain, right? To prove to a huge real estate development company that, hey, this guy is legit. He knows his things about AI and real estate. Here's the proof, aka proof of work that he went through that class. So those little things, and the same as he went to like a boot camp. He did like a military training here and there. He traveled to these countries to like speak to those kind of, I don't know, religious leaders or something where it's like proof of that you've done something, so you have skin in the game. Those are the little things that I feel like would be great to put on blockchains, so that it's not like, oh, here's another bullshitter. If you can notice, like I'm all about, exterminating bullshitters and bullshit. That's kind of like where I stand, and that's where I like about proof of work. Are you for real, or are you just bullshitting? Is what I always ask.
Do you
Authenticity.
I mean, you have said that a lot on this podcast already. Do you see a lot of bullshitters in that area?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think there are BSers everywhere, right? And the I guess the older you become, the more things you see, the more people you meet, and you start to differentiate between different people. And I'll be honest, sometimes I will bullshit here and there when I'm like at some sort of a social event or a cocktail party. I feel like it's kind of in our nature. It would be kind of weird to constantly be like straightforward. And other things for that is probably being a polite person and having like a cocktail conversation or something like that. But it's another thing where you're trying to sell your services, you're trying to sell yourself, you're trying to say that you're someone that you're really not. And in this day and age, a lot of people are looking for quick victories, right? They look at Instagrams, they look at all these rich people, and they want to do the same life. And so they just want to fake it till you make it kind of situation. Yeah. But in this day and age, I feel like it becomes a little bit, I don't know, just first of all, cringe, especially when you can see those kind of people. But second of all, it's just like, it becomes dangerous, especially when it comes to like crypto stuff. All the scams and stuff. It's like
big time.
It's crypto. It's not real money. Who's gonna tell me what? Well, I just told. That kind of thing.
It's also like when you're talking about this new emerging tech, AI. It's very easy to dupe somebody who knows no idea about AI versus selling somebody a junker car, right? A car it's got issues. Chances are somebody is going to know what to look for, right? But when you're going into new emerging tech and you're putting out bullshit, there's not enough people that can decipher what's legit and what's not. So it's just easy to part people with their money with this
and
new
then you
stuff.
have to and then you have to have like a person, a guy or a girl who like, okay, I need to find someone who can tell me that this is not bullshit, and who, but then you're like, okay, well, who can I call that I can trust, who will also like will take my money and will actually provide a real service and tell me like, this is good, this is bad, don't do this, do that, and all of that. It's crazy. Like going back to AI, I went to the lawyer event for like a law society here in Toronto, and I'm like, and the whole event was like lawyers and AI, like this whole thing, and I was like, oh wow, this is like a target audience.
Let's see
what's happening there. And then I go there, and there's like, here's ChatGPT 3.5. Did you know that you can also pay for ChatGPT? So they're like absolutely not like, here's how you can prompt. Like the whole entire audience didn't raise their hands like if they're using it or not. It's just like they're so behind as an industry, and so the question of whether it's even allowed to use ChatGPT in the law industry so far is very controversial. But even they are not there yet. But at the same time, they're trying to do it, but it's still very early. So what I'm trying to say is lawyers, doctors, all of those professions historically are very smart people, right? All of them.
Yeah.
But you kind of approach them with new tech like AI or crypto, and all of a sudden it's just like, it's very easy to mislead even the smartest people, I would say, who are just not keeping their finger on the pulse with those things.
Right.
Definitely. It's almost like kind of we're talking about the lawyer that's AI integrated, how it'll fight your case for you. It was in New York. We're talking about that.
About that, Samir, that case in New York.
I think I heard about it. It's I think it's an old story, but it's still very valid because they're still doing it. And honestly, because that's the thing that they discussed there as well, is that man, the billable hours era is going to be gone very soon. Because everyone's going to catch up soon and realize, like, why would I need to pay a paralegal if I pay for like a subscription? Because what are I think paralegals are doing? They're just pulling up a bunch of stuff. They do research, like all the precedents and all of that, and you can do it very quickly. And again, like, I'm all for the fact that, hey, if you, for example, if you are a paralegal, you better know how to use all kinds of AI tools, and you go to your boss and you show how you show them that you know how to use them, so that you are not going to get laid off. Because what they're going to be essentially thinking about, all those law firms, is the fact that, hey, this is all getting very, very cheap for me to pull all this information. So I definitely don't need all that kind of manpower.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just like leave some of them who are already know how to use AI and all of that, but the rest, they're kind of are on their own. But yeah, we're definitely going there. But on top of that, the lawyers, and again, I'm taking that from their meeting, they will no longer charge expensive prices per hour for their services, simply because they're not going to spend those hours to do that work. Because again, work is research.
How are they going to buy those Benzes?
Well, that's another thing.
Bug-eye bin.
Yeah, that's
why they can't go too low.
Well, they'll have to, because someone else will.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
those professions are definitely will be. I don't want to say that they're in danger, because they never will be.
Right.
But they will have to restructure the way they charging you.
Sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, one thing I've thought about is in our country, our level of education has seemed to just really descend over the past few decades, and so if you could get AI, AI is so what do you call it? You can integrate, or you can talk to it. It talks back. What is that called? It's an I word. Anyway,
it's an I word. I'm trying to figure it out.
Interactive. So say you get an AI teacher, an AI instructor, and they are teaching things. Well, you could do it in such a way to where, once this stuff advances, certain kids just do well with certain teachers or certain personalities more than others. Right. So you could actually tailor.
I had some teachers that hated me for sure. Yeah.
Right. Well, same here. But there were also some teachers that I had that were really effective. I mean, I remember my current events teacher. He was the one that really changed my life in the sense. I mean, what we're talking about in this podcast. Just staying on top of it and staying engaged and knowing who's who and knowing how these you got to go beyond the headlines. It was my current event teacher in high school, and he was amazing. And if I could replicate him,
What? Yeah, actually, go ahead and then I'll ask. I just want to. I'm like current events class. I never heard about a class like that.
Yeah,
I never went through it.
It was.
Please tell me more.
So it was talking about the importance of knowing what the headlines mean. So when you read these headlines, we know that they're going to be sensational headlines, but how important it is to read the article to know about the information in it. And so one topic that I'll bring up is Osama bin Laden. We were reading about Osama bin Laden. I graduated in class of 2001 in high school. So in 2000, I'm in his class and we're reading 2000. We were reading a story about Osama bin Laden, how he took a speedboat and killed 13 of our U.S. sailors in Egypt. And so
Wait, what?
Yeah. So before 9/11, he was attacking our U.S. Soldiers before. And so we were talking about all this. So when September 11th happened, before anybody on TV, no Fox News, CNN, no reporters were reporting a name. They were just reporting airplanes in the towers. And I told my parents, that's Osama bin Laden. And then we're talking about 10 minutes later, they said, we're getting reports in that this is a possible terrorist attack from Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden. My parents are looking at me like, what?
So you called it.
Well, it was that current events teacher who taught me to read these articles so that when things happen, right, instead of having to wait for other people to say it, you've already done your research. You've already seen it to where, so much has happened. If this pattern is correct, I bet it's this person or this group or this type of thing. Yeah. So you talk about, we're facing economy. So where do you want to be? Well, you got to be reading your current events to know approximately where we're going to be. So when a housing market crashes, you are already braced for it. You're already prepared for it because you're reading the relevant information.
Yeah. Very informed. Have you guys, do you remember that story about Osama bin Laden's, his manifesto, whatever, and then the TikTokers who discovered it?
No. Oh, wow.
You guys don't know?
No, school us.
So there's a bunch of Zoomers in the United States discovered Osama bin Laden's letter. And I'm talking like the liberal, whatever, just Zoomers, like the typical ones. They're not politically oriented or anything. I think they're kind of there. And then they're reading his manifesto, and they say like, actually, he doesn't, say some, like, they're kind of approving of him. Mm-hmm. And so that shit has started to spread across TikTok. And it was a massive kind of like, what the hell moment, because all of a sudden all those 18-year-olds, 22-year-olds are kind of like sharing this manifesto and saying like, hey, he says some good stuff. And that's, I think, ultimately was the catalyst why TikTok is getting banned right now too, because all of a sudden you kind of, you don't have a handle on that.
Oh wow!
You don't know, like, I can't believe you guys don't know about this. Was like a massive event. You should Google that. You should Google
we will definitely Google that.
Well,
TikTokers. The white girls and stuff, like shaking this Osama bin Laden thing.
Did they have a dance to it? A TikTok dance associated?
I mean, think about it. They don't even know about 9/11. I mean, they were born in like 2007 or whatever. Yeah. Like, it's just like, so for them, it's just some story, and so they don't have that horror that we have when we were growing up, right? But for them, it's just like, and so they're sharing it like it's nothing, and a bunch of people are just horrified on Twitter, especially like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh my God. Well, so speaking of manifestos,
content, baby, content.
Speaking of manifestos, along those same lines, have you ever heard of the Unabomber's manifesto?
Yeah, I heard about it. I heard that a lot of people think it makes sense. I actually never dive into that whole lore of Unabomber.
Well, the premise, for people that don't know, is he was scared to death of technology. And he said, with the progression of technology, the way it's going to be, he basically called out the future because he could see the way it was going. He said, we're going to start to be divided. We're going to start to be less human toward each other. I mean, he was saying so many different things in there, and you're reading through this thing and you're like, but did you really have to mail bombs to people?
At what point did it cost people's lives?
It just, he didn't, at the time, YouTube wasn't around, so he couldn't make a YouTube video to share this knowledge.
Yeah, he would have gone live.
That's insane.
It's funny because, and I have a feeling we're just going to get like dinged again on this episode, but like that's what the terrorism is. It's a marketing campaign. It's a shock value, right? What is the terrorism? Like they do this outrageous, horrible event. And it attracts a lot of media attention, and so that media attention then gets flipped into like their agenda, whatever they're trying to get their message on. Because otherwise, no one's gonna like listen to them. They're bullshit or whatever. Or maybe it's like, I don't know, but it's just essentially a tool. Mm-hmm. It's like a perception tool.
Well,
like how do you get that spotlight?
Yeah. And I don't want first, like with a guest, we don't want one of our guests episodes to be banned.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll keep the controversial stuff amongst ourselves.
I don't know. You guys are the masters of the controversy.
I think we're coloring in the lines.
First time I'm speaking all this.
I don't think we're really going outside. I don't think we're going to get hit with the ban hammer. Right. Risque at most. This is like going to the beach and you see like G-string bikinis. They're not nude. Nice. But you're getting pretty darn
barely
close.
there, right?
You're almost there.
You're looking from a distance. Are they nude or are they wearing clothes? Squinting.
All right, we'll let you guys go on this one.
Let me ask you guys a question. Like, so what happened in the past year and a half, or almost 2 years since we spoke last? Like with the Beyond Expectation podcast, with how it's been. Like where did all the cool sunglasses like went? Like what the fuck happened? Like
I think we just kind of of course we added our third wheel to the pod. You guys had
such a deep look in your faces.
I'm putting a lot of thought into my response, but no, we found our third wheel here, Brad. I mean, I just figured it would be.
How did that come about? Who is Brad? Like,
Brad.
Where did he come from?
I say Brad is a sports aficionado. He's a very charismatic individual. I mean, handsome guy. No,
I fucking love that whole story because I was, Brad was in the last episode discussing Bronny James and all that. I'm so like behind NBA, LeBron and all of that. But yeah, like I've learned a lot. His son is now in Lakers with him and all of that. And the fact how you were like responding, like the way you're like talking about this, and explaining was like, okay, like this is like some professional freaking content.
Hey, I appreciate that,
very
man.
valuable. So props to you, man.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, you're pretty well spoken yourself. I can definitely tell that you know a lot about a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Thank you.
but yeah, no, we all work at the same company. I was on the podcast previously when it like first started.
One of the golden
some
era
of the OG,
episodes.
like episodes, and I kind of went my own direction, and then about a year and a half ago, about a year ago maybe now.
Close to that, yeah.
Yeah, Eddie. I think I'm not really sure how I ended up back on the episode, but him and I talked about it, about how the sports element was the only thing that he was missing, like where they weren't talking about sports. Nice. And so I came on and kind of took that on. But I'm also a high school basketball coach, so.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I played basketball and all the way through AAU when I was in the traveling leagues and going to Florida and Vegas. And
how tall are you?
6'8".
Yeah.
He's a walking skyscraper.
Where you're sitting, man.
But yeah. So then I play a little college ball, and my knees are. I mean, I'm a big guy. I've had a lot of miles on my knees, kind of just ended up getting a job, and here I am.
living the dream.
Yeah.
Adding a podcast or two with a resume on his, he's
exactly.
Yeah, man. No,
and
but
so, you guys are sitting in the living room, or what's?
Yeah, it's at my place. Yeah.
We're at Brad's mansion.
La Casa, aka the studio. Yeah, it's house/studio.
This is actually just a shed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually a green
It's
screen.
all an artificial background.
Yeah, this is a green screen.
AI baby.
You guys see me like on the giant screen, or like how do you guys see me? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're
a
on
giant
a big-
screen.
you're
You're on the
on
big
the-
screen, man. It's like
65-inch?
the real
Yeah.
deal, man.
65.
Yeah.
This is like this is like the situation room right here.
Yeah, it's pretty much like we're interviewing.
Samir, this episode is very special for us because we have been talking about doing this very thing, and so when Eddie was talking about you guys talking about getting on doing another episode, I'm like, oh, that's perfect, man.
Yeah.
Then we can, we have been wanting to get a guest on here so we could just you're kind of our guinea pig,
Test it out.
but at the same time,
yeah.
you're like a very loved guest. So we are honored to have you, and we are glad that it's working out.
man.
With the setup.
Definitely, and I think out of everyone, I'm the least educated on this, so I'm kind of just sitting back and learning.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the only AI experience I just seeing videos and things like that, but I haven't really messed with it myself. I haven't taken the plunge and signed up for ChatGPT, but I've heard about it a lot and seeing the guys messing with all the stuff, and it's hilarious. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty curious now.
Hey, just download the app called LightX. Just get the trial. Then cancel it or whatever, like after 7 days. But just upload a bunch of your pictures there, and it will just show you like all kinds of stuff that they can do, like using your image. Obviously, you're probably gonna sell them your image or whatever, so that they're gonna feel it. Whatever, it's got privacy concerns. But the amount of fun you're gonna have, just like pretending that you're a conqueror of Mongolia or something like that. It's going to be like,
that is hilarious.
For hours.
I did one time Google AI. Image generator, and I clicked on some random, I don't even remember what it was, but I was having fun like making like Donald Trump like boxing Hillary Clinton or or like something or like Donald Trump like as a midget in clown shoes like that, just like,
random things.
I did the image creator, and I have Joe Biden riding a giant tricycle.
Oh yeah, he sent that out. Yeah, that was pretty funny. But yeah,
guys,
it's been interesting.
You should have live streamed reaction for Trump Biden debate, like that, sitting while watching the debate on the TV right now, and you just like chatting about that. So next time, please do that. I'll tune in.
I think we should do more stuff like that for sure.
From the outside looking in, did you watch that debate?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I watched it with my Republican friend who lives in Utah.
Okay.
And we had a lot of fun just watching that debate.
Well, I deliberately do not ask anybody their political affiliation because I have lived in rural conservative states. I've lived in liberal states, and I've had friends everywhere I've went. And so I really just kind of keep that to myself unless it's like safe territory, right? But once I know it, once I know it's safe territory, and even if they're liberal or they're conservative, yeah. Well, if you're wearing a cowboy hat, I'm automatictically assuming you're MAGA. And if you're barely making it up the stairs, or I'm automatically assuming that you're voting for Biden. No, I'm kidding. It's a joke, people.
But we are actually.
What's Seattle doing right now? Aren't you guys like a hotbed for like crazy liberals?
Oh, dude, we are living in the city. We were in the hotbed when Trump was president the first time. We had what was called an autonomous zone. It was,
I remember that. Chad or whatever.
Chad, yeah.
Chad.
And it was glorious. I mean,
that was in Portland or Seattle. I don't know.
It was in Seattle.
Portland,
Capitol Hill.
I tell you what, Portland goes harder than Seattle in a lot of ways. Portland,
it's a free reign over there.
They light up their police cars on fire. I mean, they'll go straight to the police station. Although the Seattle protesters, they call them protesters. That's a friendly term, but it's really like anarchist. But they went in and burned a police precinct in Seattle as well. And then Trump was on the verge of sending the National Guard into Seattle because they were saying, nope, we're autonomous. You can't touch us. We're our own country. You know, it's like little.
It was happening for like a month or two or something like that.
Yeah, it was on for a while. Yeah,
it just became a big like druggy fest, and like
it was bad. We had a local rapper here that was selling underage kids AR-15s out of his Tesla. It was amazing.
I don't know.
Amazing.
I don't know if this story is true, but someone had said it was like what? It was months, right? That Chaz existed. Someone said it took this one gangbanger one morning to clean out the entire neighborhood.
Really?
He just walked around and like took a gun out and he was like, "Get your asses out of here!" And then people were just gone like within the day because he was walking around like threatening people basically. Yeah, I don't know if that's true.
Like you guys seen The Wire, the TV show?
The Wire? No,
I haven't.
Actually,
I've seen been recommended so many times.
Yeah.
Y'all are crazy. Like,
no,
is it? I feel like I've seen everything. I feel like I've seen everything, so that's funny.
What about The Wire?
Oh my god. Well, there's this guy. His name is Omar, and he is exactly the guy who you just described. He just went through the neighborhood and cleaned it up really quickly just by like.
Really? Yeah. Just racked the gun, pointed, fire a shot here.
That's Omar. Yeah.
Okay, so
playing him.
So that show is that The Wire is that one of those shows where there's a different, like each episode has a different story, like that kind of thing?
No. Actually,
I hate shows like that.
Rewatched.
I hate shows like that. I don't know why.
Although one show that I like this is the Sex, Love, and Robots or something like that.
Oh, okay.
On Netflix, it's like an animated series, but it has like different cartoons.
Yeah, and there are some other. Black Mirror is good too. Black Mirror, how they have the different
Black Mirror, but yeah, I feel like that.
Hey, you haven't seen Black Mirror? Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, I haven't seen
hey,
Black Mirror
is sick. Have you seen Black Mirror?
I've never heard of it.
It's worth a watch. Yeah. So like each episode is it's like totally. I mean, this episode it's like very futuristic like type ideas, right? Like social scores. Like a whole episode of where this girl, like she starts out at like a certain score and she's like really hot, and then by the end she's like homeless and like all the way down to zero, and you basically can't eat anywhere, you can't that kind of like idea. But there's a bunch of different like futuristic ideas, and like each episode is there's one where a guy ends up dying like in a video game. He goes into an online video game and ends up getting stuck there, like where it's a life or death thing. And
wow.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry. Yeah, we're off that.
That's insane.
It's crazy. They even have a choose your own ending, like where you can like the old books.
Click on the whole thing. Yeah, I remember seeing that one.
Yeah.
Huh.
I love that.
Interactive shows is what's going to be the new thing, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I've never seen it.
I think The Wire, though, going back to The Wire, you guys totally have to see. Have you ever seen like Sopranos, for example?
Oh, I love Sopranos.
I've seen a little bit of Sopranos. Not all the way through.
I love the Sopranos. I've seen it like 4 times maybe.
Yeah. I watch it like once a year for sure, like from the beginning to end. But it came out at the same time on the same network on HBO.
Okay.
So it has the same kind of grid. It was revolutionary. What it is, it's a cop show. The Wire.
Okay.
But it's so realistic and it's so detailed, and it's based in Baltimore, and it just describes the drug trafficking, the drug trade, and all of that, and the people who are involved in that, and the cops and the cop politics, and it's just completely no censor there, and there's no filter on anything. You just see like the whole like raw stuff, but it's all acting, it's all actors and all that, but it's just so epic,
That's
after
awesome.
20 years or whatever, like even more than 20 years, this show still freaking rocks.
Is it like Training Day, like Training Day-esque?
Yeah. It's like Training Day-esque. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Denzel?
I'm definitely gonna watch this. I always say the same.
You'll be surprised. I have a feeling you have an understanding that Wire is one thing, but once you like start watching it, you're like, holy shit, that's
check it out.
That's kind of how I tell people about Breaking Bad. There's so many people that haven't seen Breaking Bad,
good too, and
it's amazing. You haven't seen that either?
I've heard it was.
You don't watch TV.
I thought I was gonna hate it, but I loved it.
Oh, it was amazing. That's another one I can watch like once a year. I could watch that all the way through.
Okay.
So Samir, I want to ask you a question. You're up in Toronto.
The 6.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of.
Ask me about Drake. Do it.
Ask
me about Drake.
Okay, I think
Hey,
that's
I'm
coming.
I'm on your
But
side.
first, I want to talk about Canadian drivers. I want to.
I wasn't expecting that one. Huh?
Me either.
Whenever
it on
I'm
the outline?
driving on I-5, right? It's always, I'm in the fast lane and I'm just overtaking a car. I'm usually in the far left lane just to overtake a car. But then every time I get over in the left lane, there's always a car right on my ass. And whenever I look at the plates, here's the problem with these British Columbia plates. They look so similar to Washington plates. I'm just thinking, if I get someone on my ass from Washington, they may have a gun, and then I'm not, and then I'm hurrying up and getting over. Right? Nothing pisses me off more than getting over and seeing that British Columbia plate, because I'm like, man, they were no threat.
So what you're saying is, please identify your plates better so that I know if I want to.
No, it's a question. It's a question. Why do Canadians drive so fast? I was up in up to Vancouver, and I was in a maybe a 45 kilometer. I don't know what the speed was. It was like in kilometers, but I was going, and I was hauling. I was like going probably 10 over. And this guy gets on me like I was slowing him down, and he's honking, he's flashing his lights. There is one. I love Canadians. Love Canadians. They're great people. They're good on all sides. But why? What? Like there's. It seems to be that driving is Canadians' one thing that they are very aggressive on. And I wanted to know if you had insight on that.
Yeah, it's actually something that I'm asking myself the same question here in Toronto. Like, I've spent 9 years in California, like since I was 17 till I was like, whatever, 20-something, 27, I think. That's 9 years, yeah. And it's always like the right of way, and I've always been the pedestrian. Only like the past a couple of years in the United States, I was just driving. But it's always like, even in Los Angeles, like the drivers were still respecting the right of way. They know that it's like they can get their, they can get their like suspensions and fines and all of that. People are watching them, like the cops.
Yeah.
But when I moved to Toronto, I realized that there's a lot of impatient drivers. They're definitely not respecting the pedestrians as much as they do in the United States. But I'm not driving in Toronto myself. Like, I'm just in the downtown. I work from home, and everything's very close. If I need to go somewhere, I just take Uber for like $9.
Okay.
So for me, like, the car is not a necessity, so I don't see all that carnage or whatever, that craziness.
Oh.
But as a pedestrian, I see like some really like nasty stuff, like dangerous stuff even. And I don't know what it is. As an immigrant myself, I came to Toronto from Kazakhstan in 2019. And we've been adding a lot of immigrants lately from different countries where driving is much different. Driving culture is different, I would say, where the right of way is not respected. For example, in Kazakhstan, right of way is not really respected. So like we have to run from the cars rather than kind of like walk in front of them and asking them to wait basically.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So we've added, I think, over a million or like over 1 million people in like the last year and a half or something.
Wow.
And maybe that's like that kind of shifted the culture of driving a little bit. But that's just kind of like that's my explanation. That's the only way I can explain it. Because from the big cities especially. Again, not to push against immigration or anything like that, although there's a questions there, but that's just my assumption from like a pragmatic, impartial point of view. I think it's just the culture came from abroad where it's just like driving is more driver is the boss basically.
Well, it's something I've always wanted to ask Canadians, and I've never been close enough to any Canadians to really ask them. But I mean, even when I was living in Montana, they would come from Alberta. And they were always, and they would always be in the fast lane, even if you were behind them. They expect you to move over, but then if you are trying to overtake them, they will not move over. And I'm like, why is that?
Alberta is different. You don't mess with Alberta, man.
Why? What's going on?
Just Alberta is our, I don't even know, like
armpit
Alberta is
of
like
Canada?
a rough. It's a rough. I've never been to Alberta, but I hear a lot of stories about Albertans, and they're not bad stories. It's basically you don't mess with people from Alberta. Is what I'm.
Well, it's
like the whole truckers.
Truckers.
You know what was? Remember the truckers in Canada? COVID lockdowns, all of that.
Yeah.
Boom! I just put like bunch of more dings.
Red flag. Let's
go.
It's all good. It's all good.
So it was funny. It happened in 2022, I think. A bunch of truckers were protesting against lockdowns.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
They drove all the way from Alberta and other parts of Canada to Toronto, and they just occupied all the streets, basically just like honking and all of that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of crazy things happened. Their bank accounts got suspended. Like it's a huge scandal. All of that. Like for Canada, it was crazy. Like people still can't believe that happened. But for me, it was crazy because. I lived in the United States for a long time, and I thought Americans is where the freedom is.
Right.
But amid all these lockdowns, it's the Canadians that stepped up, and started like really putting, they're kind of like they were staying on business and like we mean it, like we're gonna protest, we're gonna like close the roads and all of that. And that's where I was like, oh wow, like there is a part like because in Toronto, there's people are not like that in Toronto,
right?
But like if you go more north. Those people, they're still kind of like, we are our own, sovereign individuals. We're going to do what we think is right and all of that. So that was a huge revelation to me about the culture of Canada. Like how different, yeah.
Well, we've like when I was living in Montana, I was in my early 20s. So we were bar hopping, doing all that. And so us Montana boys, we'd always be getting in fights, like bar fights or whatever. And the Canadians loved it. They would never get in fights because they didn't want to get deported and get arrested and all that. But they loved watching us Americans fight.
They love fighting in Canada.
They were our biggest fans.
Hey, I wish I wasn't like one of my biggest regrets, in all my time in the United States is that I really stayed at the, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, and I visited Portland, Seattle, and New York City. So like I was just on those little like big city places where it's not really common to just have a bar fight,
right?
But I like we grew up on these movies about all the bar fights
that's
the Americana, like this kind of cowboy shit. And I've never actually seen it ever in the United States, but again because I wasn't in Montana. So that's something that I want to do. Like
we grew up that way, and we loved it. But I will say that I slowed my roll when I moved out to Washington, because people out here, they don't fight. They will pull out guns, they'll pull out knives, they'll pull out weapons. That's the threat out here. So I've just really taken more of a diplomatic role. My last bar fight was in 2010.
And we're going to keep that way.
Yeah.
Wasn't that long
It's
ago?
funny because my last fight was in 2010 too. It was not a bar fight, it was a school fight.
Was it with Samir?
It wasn't with you, was it?
You won.
Yay.
You won, right?
Cool.
I don't see any scars.
It was I think it was kind of a draw because they called the police and we had to like run everywhere.
187.
But yeah, he 187. But his finger definitely, I think, was broken. And I had some bruises on my skull and all of that. And Anyway, so it was crazy. We got almost expelled from school. That was like ridiculous. All over nothing.
It's always over nothing, right?
Yeah, it was over nothing. It was such bullshit. Yeah.
A slight bump. That's all it started. Ooh,
Yeah.
sorry.
I've seen a fight outside a bar, a large fight,
Yeah.
like 20, 25 people fighting.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like an army versus an army right there, man.
I had to swing a couple times to get out of the crowd.
In Kazakhstan, it was common back in the 90s, and it still is actually, to have this school-on-school fight. So, like, let's say you're from one school and you're from another, and you, like, collect, like, 25, 50, like 70 people, and it's just war. You can, like, check out videos on YouTube of how Russia, Kazakhstan, there's, like, crowd on crowd, and it's just, like, fighting like crazy.
That's interesting. I don't really know a whole lot about Kazakhstan, and I have to say it, other than Borat.
Borat.
That's the only way.
Yeah, sure. All right.
That's it.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I've heard it's actually. I've heard
that movie did us a good marketing campaign. You know, a lot of people kind of later realized we were all kind of offended and butthurt about
Right.
the movie. But then, as we matured as a nation, I would say we realized that this is actually a good PR for us.
it was just jokes. It was total jokes.
Yeah, it was jokes and fun and all
Yeah.
of that. But yeah.
But I can get how you would have been offended. But at the same time, it's like it probably brought a lot of attention, right, to your country. So like you said,
I mean, every time you say like you're from Kazakhstan,
Borat.
and you see this guy, and his eyes light up, and he has this giant smile on his face. It's like, what? Borat? And then it's just like, yeah, we used to like be like, I was crazy about it. I was like angry about it.
I will say he did go a little like the one was good enough, but then he just kept going. I know what the next ones weren't about Kazakhstan, but there was always that element, right? Because he was from Kazakhstan, so
yeah.
But there was like five different movies or something.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah. But essentially, it makes fun of the Americans. That
Right.
was the whole premise of
Yeah.
Kazakhstan. You know, from the kind of the innocent view of a Kazakh journalist. You're trying to speak to Americans, and it's just like, I don't know. It's a very smart comedy for sure. But
Definitely.
obviously, if you're from Kazakhstan, at that time you were like, oh wow, like this is unexpected. Why me? Like what the hell?
It's like Kim
Luck of the
Jong-un
draw.
in that movie. He got offended. It finally released. It was that Seth Rogen movie.
With North
and
Korea?
and it was on, and that guy played Kim Jong-un.
I forgot the name of that we're talking about.
I
Him and
forget
James Franco.
The
Yeah.
interview.
Do you know
The
what I'm
interview,
talking-
yeah,
the
yeah.
interview.
Yeah.
I heard that they like delayed release on it because like Kim Jong Un heard about it or something, and he was like super pissed off. And then
Honestly,
they,
like they said this interview for North Korea, like 2 journalists going there, and I just think the movie was gonna bomb in the theaters.
yeah,
And they were like, whether we're gonna spend money on distribution or we're gonna create this giant ass marketing campaign pretending that this movie is banned
That's
for security purposes.
because it was a
So
bad
that's
movie.
I like
Yeah,
it.
so
I mean,
that's
in my
my
opinion.
my theory. Yeah, it's just a marketing campaign because Americans don't give a fuck about that. What the
Yeah.
ban a movie in the United States. Like,
That's
but yeah,
funny.
just the movie probably wasn't that good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you brought it up.
Well, I brought it.
Drake
Okay.
versus
What did I do?
Kendrick.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Are you riding with your boy Drake over there? I'm sure you are. My guess is you are.
How about you know what? You say your piece first, and then I will reply to you according.
All right.
I'll say my piece too. I already
you want
made
to
it.
take the floor or what?
Well, okay. I've always said we already talked about it kind of previously on the podcast, and my stance and still is like, okay, Kendrick's diss tracks definitely hit harder than Drake's, right? And there's no denying that. But to me, the content of it is important, and a lot of it was lies. Like a lot of the stuff that he said, the buzzwords and like things like that, like none of it was really proven to be true. And also, resume wise or like hits wise, like we could sit here and talk for like hours about Drake, right? And about all the songs like throughout, because dude, I remember listening to Drake when he first came out when I was like 18 getting my first apartment, right? So I could sit here and probably name like 40 songs that I can remember and that were like hits or like had a part of maybe like a really important part of my life, or like when I was playing basketball, like I'm on one, right? Like that. And then what's that? Take Care, was that when he was sitting at the little table and it looked like a portrait? That was the album cover. I forget what it was.
Yeah.
And he had the little gold cup. Like that came out when I was in college, right? So like
I hope you're not trying to be nice on purpose.
No, when I think about Kendrick, I think about alcohol, the pour up, drank, right,
Drink,
and there and there
Cheers for me
then
too.
and that was Swimming Pools was that album, and that was like his one really like popular album. Then he had the Love album, which I loved like 3 or 4 songs on that, but that's it. That's all he has. In the battle.
All right.
In the battle. So like to me, it's a no-brainer. Like Drake is, it doesn't matter how many diss tracks Kendrick releases, Drake is always going to be the king, like over those two. I mean, it's not even close. I'm not saying he's my favorite rapper ever, but he's probably up there. Like, I don't know.
What about you,
maybe number
Britaris?
one.
Bredicus?
I am anti-Drake to the fullest. I think
There we go.
Horn out.
he has never been hip hop to me. He's always been pop, and I'm like, he's the Justin Bieber of rap, and he's just making pop tracks, and then all of a sudden decided he wants to get hard. And,
That might be true.
You know, and that's what pissed me off as growing up a hip hop head is seeing somebody, you know, get rich, get successful, and then decide they wanted to be gangster. That's why I quit liking Eminem for the same reason. He came in, he was being funny, he was doing all this. Then all of a sudden he gets 50 Cent on there, starts fighting with Ja Rule, but he's already too big to really like take down. And so I'm like, you're taking small shots, you know? And so when I saw Drake do that, you know, Kendrick, he's hip hop and he's sticking it. He's staying hip hop with it. He was hitting hard. He was going for the jugular, and he was crossing lines. He definitely went a little too far with what he was doing, but he kept it hip hop, and he got everybody talking. I mean, if it weren't for Kendrick, this beef would not be anything that would hit the suburban area communities, but it reached the subs. It reached the burbs, and so. All in all, Drake, I don't think he's going to get hit the way that I wanted to see him get hit. I wanted to see his ship sink. But and I don't think that Kendrick is going to get either what he wanted, but I think he did get what he needed at that time. But I think in all of that, I mean, I was rooting for Kendrick all the way, every track. The fact that Drake was using AI, pissed me off. Yeah. He was pissing me off at every corner, everything he was doing, other than the funny stuff about using the minivan. That was pretty funny.
So I just want to add something really quick before. Yeah. So have you guys seen, just real quick, this is related, I promise. You guys have seen 40-Year-Old Virgin? Like where there's a scene where the guy's he's in the TV place and he's like, if I hear Yamo be there one more fucking time, I'm gonna kill myself. The guy like playing on the piano or whatever. Yeah, that's how I feel about I'm not like us. Oh, I literally want to kill myself when I hear that song. Like, please God, just turn that off. I've heard it too many times.
Yeah, I can't listen to it anymore. But
it's annoying.
A minor.
Yeah, and that line too. That line is annoying. Like when I hear a minor, it's almost the most annoying part of the song.
When you hear it the first time, I
don't think it's true. That's the. I don't think it's true.
Pictures out there.
That's the questionable stuff.
I don't know.
So anyway, Eddie, what's your take?
You know, look, man, I think I have to agree with what you were saying at the beginning, right? I think to me this really boils down to just the perception that you set for yourself when you come out as an artist. Obviously, you have an image that you're going to portray to the masses. Like, granted, phenomenal artist, Drake. He's been, I mean, I remember when he first came out, like, I'm like, this dude's going to be big. R&B, pop, he can rap, whatever, cool, you know. But I think where it got kind of, I would say I was kind of questioning is that now you're really trying to set this perception of something that you're really not and trying to put this image of somebody that you're really not. And I think that's where, to me, it kind of didn't make sense when you're talking all this toughness and you're going up against a dude that is from Compton, for God's sakes. And two, I mean, it's like, you already know Kendrick is as real as it gets. People already say, he doesn't say too much. He's not really in the limelight. He's not really all about being out in the forefront. He drops an album when he wants to. When it does, it's a classic. I mean, he's got Grammys to back it up. I mean, this went down as tactical as possible, but by far the beef that we witnessed was one for the books to me, because we never saw something in real time play out, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But the strategy that Kendrick took to drop him at like the least expected, that same day when he dropped 2 Ziz tracks, I was like, you got to be kidding me at this point.
Okay,
Like, I just couldn't. I just could not believe it that it was like that quick. And also to add to that note, Ab-Soul, one of his artists, is legitimately gassing up Drake as we speak right now. Because there's rumors that he's heard he's like Drake. I mean, not Kendrick's got some in the tank already that he's just waiting to put out. It's just a matter if Drake wants to smoke more.
Why does everyone think that Kendrick is gangster though? Kendrick's a rap nerd. But he's from Compton. He's not. I mean, he's not like a gangbanger.
I would say this.
That's why Drake even makes fun of it. Like he's like the only one street. Like he says something about like.
Okay, I'm gonna say this.
Grew up in Nickelodeon.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're growing up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
To me, I just feel like Drake's always just been that like you said, almost like the Justin Bieber, right? Pop, of rap, we could say, or hip hop, whatever, right?
Yep.
Nothing bad. I mean, dude, the dude is a massive artist. I'm not saying that to diss him or anything, but it's like the perception you're trying to set for yourself, thinking that you're from the streets. I'm like, bro. You're in Degrassi.
I felt bad. We haven't let Samir.
No, I'm just saying. No, this is real. This is real discussion. It's like dude, you were in Degrassi.
Okay, but Richard Sherman's from Compton. He went to Stanford, and he's one of the smartest people. He's not a gangster. He's literally he's the Richard Sherman of Compton. Anyway, let's hear what you have to say. Yeah. We need to.
Don't forget about your guest from Canada.
Yeah. No, Samir, what do you think though?
Yeah, they've already heard us talk about that.
Yeah, we had a full episode dedicated to it. Literally.
We did talk about it. Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm just gonna say it right away. I'm riding with Drake, and I fully support Drake in this battle.
I just flipped the script.
For the reasons because I am in Toronto. I live here.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna like say whatever because I like Kendrick too. I saw him live several times and all of that.
Yeah.
But Drake is the king here. Like you guys don't understand. You guys have all kinds of rappers. We have one. We have Drake. We have like some other derivatives, but like Drake is the guy.
Yeah.
And in Toronto and in Canada, only 2 things matter: MLSC, which owns Toronto Raptors and Maple Leafs and all the arenas, and Drake. There's only 2 brands. And so, so I'm riding with Drake on this one. I don't even want any of that kind of like, but let me tell you like how I saw it. At the beginning, like, I was pissed off. I didn't pay attention for this beef at all. Everyone was hyping it up on Twitter, and I was like, 2 40-year-old dudes beefing.
Right.
That's true.
There is that.
Issuing who are billionaires or millionaires or whatever, 40-year-old millionaires, multi-millionaires, just beefing online and like putting out there little tracks of how they diss each other and how they don't. This is like, I don't know. I wasn't grew up on this, or maybe it's because they're just so successful and so middle-aged that I'm like, I don't understand this. And I was like, and I'm a marketing person. I was like, from the marketing perspective, what the hell is going on? Like, why now? What is this? And I'm thinking like, okay, well, maybe I was creating all these narratives in my head. Well, maybe Drake supports, and again, like I had no background story or anything like that. Maybe he supports Kendrick, and that's why he gives him this opportunity to diss Drake, because Kendrick wasn't around for a while. I don't know, like he kind of like he wasn't around.
He falls off every 5 years. He puts out an album.
Yeah, like he is now the man because he got so popular with this battle and disses and all of that. Again, like he's back, the renaissance of Kendrick. But he wasn't around. I was like, I was thinking like, where is like even before this beef, I was thinking about him because I was remember those shots and drank and all of those, all my life something. I wish my dick got bigger than Eiffel Tower so I can fuck the world for 72 hours. I was like vibing to this song. But then like Drake's house got shut up. Like someone shot his bodyguard or something like that.
Killed him.
And then I was like, okay.
Oh, he died?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
I know that.
I don't think he died.
He didn't die? Oh, okay, someone told me.
I don't
know. Actually, I don't know. Maybe he did.
Shit.
He died?
Good.
No, I don't know.
I don't think. From what I know, I don't think he did.
I'm spreading false
I think
fake
he got
news.
shot in the pinky.
Anyway, so I was like, okay, like it's time to do a deep dive of what's going on. So my wife and I sat down. My wife is from California. She's riding with Kendrick, by the way.
Oh, division in the house.
Yeah, wow. Exactly. So I'm like, okay, let's find all those tracks. I put those tracks in. I started I lined them up with the consecutive order, got the lyrics button on, and I started like reading all the lyrics and all of that. And again, honestly, I was still kind of like, it was silly. It was, why are they saying this? Why are they saying that? And I kind of still think that it was silly, but whatever. But yeah, but some of the things that were said, that they were definitely hard, and there was definitely some bars there on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the things were like so stupidly personal that I felt like, even if it's a serious diss, I felt like there's some sort of a gentleman agreement that should be in place where you're not touching the family. And I guess both sides are kind of like dabbled into this. And again, I was like, okay, this is crazy. So yeah, I was like really kind of like, I went to the Travis Scott thing, like what happened there. There was supposed to be like a 3-way diss and something, but then it was Travis Scott, right, who pulled out?
It was
J. Cole.
J. Cole, yeah.
Oh, J. Cole, I'm sorry.
That would have been.
Travis.
He's the only one I
Yeah.
think that actually could have gone toe to toe with Kendrick, but anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And anyways, I just went into that lore. So my take is still, it's kind of, I don't know, it was stupid. But one thing I will say, Drake is a pop star, and that's amazing, and more power to him. I always judge a rapper by his international appeal. 50 Cent has been we were listening to 50 Cent in Kazakhstan in the hoods, and
Wow.
just like,
That's crazy. Yeah, 50.
we were
when he came
not
out,
understanding any of that lyrics. When Inda Club dropped, the entire post-Soviet Union were kind of like crazy about this. 50 Cent was the man. I had posters of 50 Cent.
That's crazy.
Eminem came up with Without Me. Same thing in the hood in Kazakhstan. We were all like going crazy. The girls, like they were dancing to that song, like little girls and all that. It was crazy.
That's wild.
Same
amazing.
thing with
That's cool.
Same thing with Drake. Kendrick never crossed like that.
Right.
It never crossed internationally like that. Never crossed the. Maybe because it was later, because later on, like we were kind of like people stopped listening to as much of American things, American artists. But I just think Kendrick he doesn't have the international appeal because Kendrick is a lyricist, and in order to appreciate a lyricist, you have to understand what he's saying.
Right.
And we were going by the beats. That's why Dr. Dre is a genius.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Because of his, samples and beats. Like, it was just really creating that crazy atmosphere. Anyways, that's what I would tell.
Wow. That's
I
cool.
wish they didn't do this.
Yeah.
I wish they didn't do it. I wish they didn't do this beef. I think it's useless, especially because it's now. But my favorite story is Rick Ross' story. You guys?
Oh yeah, we heard
the
about
Rick Ross
that.
story.
Yeah.
Rick Ross came to Vancouver, got his ass kicked.
Oh, did he actually?
playing-
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Or did you?
Yeah. There's
Oh, okay.
there are videos of that.
Okay, but
got
I haven't
slapped or
seen any
punched in the
clear.
face.
Yeah, I haven't seen any clear ones. I just see the one where he pours a drink and then the camera's kind of like moving around. So
No, there's like a video of Rick Ross getting punched in the face.
Oh,
like-
okay. Oh,
Wow.
well, I haven't seen
it's
it
still
yet.
not clear.
Right.
Like, it's not like HD, but you can see like Rick Ross standing there, gets punched in the face.
Rick
a bunch
Ross
of other
is
dudes,
one of the
like,
fakest
fighting.
rappers.
Yeah.
And then one of his boys gets completely knocked out. And
Oh yeah, I saw
that.
the security guard
That's
getting
crazy.
stomped
But
out.
why am I saying this? Because he was playing not like us.
Yeah,
And
standing
he's,
outside.
whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so people just approached him and all that. So I was
Wow.
like, okay. So 50 Cent
Damn.
made a lot of fun of that.
He did.
This drama definitely still goes on. This drama still goes on, but I don't think this is worth it, to be honest, for Drake, because again, he is, first of all, in Canada he's the god, and internationally he is the pop star. So I don't understand why he needs this. Honestly.
I don't think Rick Ross is coming back to Toronto.
Kendrick benefits
anytime
from this because he is back. Kendrick benefits from this because he is back, like on like charts or whatever.
Exactly.
He is,
for now.
Yeah.
But I don't understand.
For now.
Drake is already there. He is already So, but
I'm
riding
with
Drake.
you on that. I'm with you on the fact that Drake didn't need to take this fight.
Yeah. He kind of
Like Mike Tyson and the Logan guy.
Oh, Jake Paul. Yeah.
Jake Paul.
Yeah. Shit.
You guys know about that? Like
Yeah.
Mike Tyson had like whatever, some sort of a incident on the plane.
Yeah, I didn't hear about what it was. It was like thyroids, they said. I don't know. That's what they said.
Yeah.
push back the
I
fight. I
don't
know
I
that,
don't know
right?
what's happening. I think that fight it's gonna get canceled. It's a stupid fight. Everyone understands Mike Tyson is an old gentleman, and there's no everyone knows what's gonna happen. I don't think Mike Tyson's gonna win that fight by any means. Like he literally passed out on the plane. Like what are you talking about? It's an
damn.
old dude, okay?
Yeah. I agree.
or whatever. I think he's passed out, but that was the whole thing. Like,
If
he had,
that's the
an
type of
incident
shape
on the
he's
plane.
in, yeah, I don't think it's going to go well for him. So,
But it's like you were saying on the previous episode, he was partying a lot back in his day.
Oh yeah, he
And,
was. He was a wild boy.
and so,
yeah, it was.
Catches up.
So I mean, he did good. Like, cause I was watching his fight with Roy Jones like a couple years ago. I mean, it's just the stamina. I don't think it's there,
he's long past gone.
Mike Tyson's sock drawer used to be full of cocaine.
Dude, that's yeah. Like I said, just the stories that people would, or he would talk about in his podcast, right? It's just, he was a wild boy. But since we're on that tip of talking boxing, what is it? As of current, like, have you stayed up to date with like all the fights that have been going on as of late? And like just in a broad question, like where do you think boxing is right now? Do you think it's back at its where like it's starting to come back where like, okay, now boxing's on a roll? Because MMA for once, like at a certain point, MMA was kind of like, I guess, overshadowing boxing, but now it seems like boxing is coming out really good. A lot of good fights that have been happening as of late, and a lot of good boxing fights that are happening or scheduled or plan to be scheduled are coming through now. So where it's like there's more hype around it.
That's a really good question, and it's definitely an important one. And if you don't mind, like we will conclude with this topic because my wife is already getting.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Okay, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'd like to, I guess, respond extensively. Like I've been following I'm still following boxing. Although right now I'm taking a little bit of a mental break because boxing can be intense. Like there's so much drama happening. But it's funny why it's happening because it's completely decentralized. There's no UFC, there's no TKO, there's no NFL, there's no league, right? So boxing is just a bunch of promoters trying to develop their fighters and then pit them against other fighters from other promoters, and it's always like this, like chaotic. Like so that's why you have to always negotiate to make a fight. It's never like UFC. Dana White decides like this two gonna fight. These are the rankings that we establish them, and bada bing, bada boom, it's there. Like boom, like schedule. Everything is like every week you have a UFC event, like blah blah blah. In boxing, it's always like, well, let's see if we can negotiate this, we can negotiate that. You know, we have Ryan Garcia, superstar, Canelo Alvarez, a superstar, Gervonta Davis, a superstar, and then a bunch of other, like Usyk and Fury and Joshua. So it's always kind of like what their promoters and managers decide and whether they come to an agreement. So historically, it's always been very difficult because there's also such thing as an A side and a B side. A side is supposed to be the better side and the winning side. And there's like a bunch of politics that I haven't even known before. I thought A side is basically who is coming up last, like the final, like whoever comes to the ring last. That's the A side. I always thought who is getting announced first or whatever on the poster. But then there's actually A side is someone who has like a specific corner. I think it's red or blue corner that is a winning corner, and the judges think of you as a winner just because you're in that corner. All kinds of things like this that the A side had. So there's a lot of little negotiations. The rehydration clause, who's gonna weight how much, who's gonna able to rehydrate a certain amount, and then a lot of details, and that's why a lot of fights are not happening because boxing also has this culture of having a zero. Like Floyd Mayweather really kind of in like printed that in our brain that if you're undefeated, you're the man.
You're the man.
Well, in UFC, if you got defeated, you win next time. No one cares. Like we want to see you again. In boxing, if you have lost your zero, okay, you're not the man anymore. Right. That's kind of like the thing. And because of that, this zero holds a lot of leverage over like really, really talented fighters. So there's a constant risk to benefit when they're trying to like figure out who should I fight next. There's like a ranking, different bodies, 4 belts. Every belt has little ranking system, and it's like, well, if I fight this guy, I'll come up in the rankings here and there, and I'll be the champion according to this and that, and I'll still be undefeated because that fighter is actually he's a lesser class than me. So that's been happening. That was like the thing for the last 20 years. What changed recently is the fact that Arab money came in flowing into boxing.
I was just about to ask you about that.
Saudi Arabia is now involved in boxing in the United States and Britain as well. So what they do is right now they're staging a lot of fights in Riyadh, which is the city in Saudi Arabia. And basically there's this guy, his name is Turki Al-Sheikh. He is, I guess, Saudi Sheikh. And he is responsible for, I don't know, entertainment, tourism, and sports, I think something like that in Saudi Arabia. But he is basically acting as a promoter, as an event organizer, and he is fronting a lot of cash for those boxers and fighters, all the promoters that were feuding. There's like, okay, I don't care. Here's basically the deal. It's a very, very sweet deal. You guys make it up and make the fight. And that's why lately we've been seeing all this Deontay Wilder fights, Joshua fights, even Ngannou is fighting and boxing in Riyadh just because the money is there. Everyone wants to see that.
Terrence Crawford too.
Terence Crawford is fighting Madrimov, Uzbek fighter, I think in August, but they're trying to prepare him to step up in 154 division, which is where my fighter is, Serhiy Balchuk, who I work with. So it's like a very exciting kind of time because all of a sudden a lot of things are getting streamlined because no one wants to bullshit anyone. Everyone was like, okay, we have the money, we have the fighters. You're either doing this right now or this opportunity is going to be lost for you forever.
Yeah.
And so that's why a lot of people are just signing up like, okay, sure, let's do it. And then the culture is shifting too.
Yeah.
Zero, losing zero and all of that. Want to fight each other. So
Man, I wish we
boxing is
could
going
talk
through a
more.
renaissance right now.
Interesting.
Yeah, man. No, yeah. I mean, I wish we could definitely touch more on this topic because it's. I know you're really in that world of boxing. I know we've talked a little bit off the pod in regards to that. So I mean, I think we might have to make a part 2 to this episode here. You know, whenever you have some free time and maybe have the sole focus just be on boxing and the sport within
'cause
itself.
Wilder just went down.
Yeah, that was
and got
crazy,
knocked
yeah.
out by Zhang. So I was curious to hear.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of stuff to talk about just with what's happening in the world of boxing in general. Just because you were talking about the Saudis and just how there's more money flowing in and the possibilities are endless.
Next time there's a big fight, let's say Terence Crawford, right? Or maybe someone like it's too soon, maybe. Before the big fight, superstar fight, we'll do another podcast.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Hey, that'd be
we
awesome.
can plan it. We can plan it. Yeah,
we could even
definitely.
watch it live.
Yeah.
React.
Or do something.
That'd
Yeah.
be kind of fun.
Well, thank you,
Yeah.
Samir. It's been
Thank you,
awesome. This was such an awesome time to catch up with you again and just, go into totally different directions I didn't expect to do.
Definitely. And if you want to plug in anything, you're more than free and welcome to plug in anything right now, right before we wrap this up.
Well, absolutely. Thank you so much, guys. This podcast went beyond expectation. Really enjoyed talking to you guys. I appreciate you all. It's such an interesting thing that we connected, and I feel horrible that you still haven't been on my podcast. So I definitely need to organize that.
For sure.
And we can all chat.
Oh yeah.
But what I want to tell your listeners and viewers is that I do have a class right now on Udemy that is tailored for real estate agents on how to use AI properly so that you can maximize your revenue. So if you or your friends are real estate agents in the United States or Canada, please feel free to click on the link that I will provide to you guys, and you can get this class for free, absolutely free. Usually it's around $20 to $40, but I'll give it to you for free.
Sweet.
Wow, appreciate
so
that.
there you heard it. So everybody they're watching this, we'll plug this, all the information that Samir was talking about down below in the description on the YouTube video when this drops. Catch all episodes on our major streaming platforms, Spotify, podcast. We're on YouTube as well. So when this drops, hopefully you have a fantastic day. We're going to sign out. Again, thank you, Samir, for stopping through and being a guest on our podcast. We're looking forward to a part 2 on this. Definitely, we'll plan that out.
Don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, like, comment, subscribe as well. And definitely go follow the homie Samir on his podcast as well. Definitely we'll have to be a guest on his podcast as well. So we're going to sign this one out. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care. And that's a wrap.
All right. Peace.
Oh, Drake.
Yeah.